94 Warrior Rumble match coming right at you. Now, before I get to talk about the Warrior Rumble match itself, the Warrior Rumble overall show in 1994 was actually a pretty infamous show to begin with. With the match notwithstanding having co-winners. You had Bret Hart and Owen Hart going in a tag team title match against the Quebecers, where Owen Hart kicked Bret's leg out of his leg, as he coined it. Fucking great stuff. The casket match between Undertaker and Yokozuna for the title, where it took like 10 guys to get rid of the Undertaker and put him in the casket. That's all great stuff. And it's the reason why I liked the 1994 Warrior Rumble entirety. So let's get to the match itself. The Warrior Rumble 1994 Warrior Rumble match is really actually pretty damn good, despite it being in a one of the worst time periods in the WWE's lifespan, the New Generation. When you look at the New Generation, for every Bret Hart, you had so many dumb characters, and the reason why the New Generation just wasn't very good was because everybody who was at this level was gone. And you didn't really have those guys. And everybody who was at this level needed to be up here. And as great as Bret Hart was, and as great as Shawn Michaels was, they could not have been at that level. They were as great as they possibly could. You could actually compare today's era, this reality era, whatever the fuck it wants to be called, to the New Generation. Because, you got guys like John Cena and Randy Orton, but they're on their way out. They're injured. But then you got guys like Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins and Ryback and Bray Wyatt and all those guys who are right here, and they need to be elevated to be up here. But, it's just not going to be like that. It's going to be different. So, you can compare the two, and they're pretty damn similar. However, the 1994 Warrior Rumble match is actually has quite a lot of great talented guys. With the New Generation having every Bret Hart you had, you had one Bret Hart, you had a Shawn Michaels, you had a Diesel, but then you had like 10 more jabronis. You had the Goon, you had Bastion Booger, you had Battle Cat and fucking Avatar and all this fucking shit. You had all those guys, Max Moon and fucking Ace Knuckleball and all that crap, and like 10 more guys of those. Every guy was a fucking occupation. Everybody had like a side job. Sparkplug Bob Holly was a fucking NASCAR driver. You had a dumpster man, a hockey player, a fucking... so many guys like that. But those guys are actually not even a part of this. Most of the great guys that were in the New Generation were in this Warrior Rumble match. Owen Hart, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Lex Luger, who was a big deal. Diesel. You had Randy Savage was in this. He was still around. Bam Bam Bigelow. A lot of great guys. Key moments here is Diesel's epic performance where, I'm not kidding when I say this, there's 10 minutes of this Warrior Rumble match that is basically just Diesel standing in the middle of the ring, tossing the next guy that comes out over the top rope. And he does that after each and every single entry. He does that for about a good 10 minutes, and then it took 5 guys to eliminate him. It took 7 guys to eliminate Mabel, and then we have two winners of this Warrior Rumble match. So, our star power is pretty good. I give it a C+. This is the New Generation after all. So, you have that going for it. But, there's also, Adam Bomb was in this, a lot of other, a couple of has-beens, like, Greg Valentine, for God's sakes, and a couple of, Bob Backlund and whatever. But, you had the Steiners in there. You had Owen Hart. You had Bret Hart. You had, you had a lot of Bam Bam. So, I give it a C+, pretty solid. The Iron Man. Now, there was a good, like, 6 or 7, 8 guys who lasted like more than 20 minutes. But the Iron Man goes to Bam Bam Bigelow, lasting 30 minutes and 12 seconds. With having so many guys last such a long time, having literally like 8 guys lasting more than 20 minutes, I'm giving this a B. Whether or not 30 minutes and 12 seconds is long is impressive, but it's impressive for Bam Bam especially, for a guy his size and his stature. A B. Our Dominator is Diesel with 7 eliminations. He had one hell of a performance. One of the best performances there is. I've given him an A. A solid, great performance. The final 4 is Rikishi, who was then known as Fatu, Shawn Michaels, Lex Luger, and Bret Hart. Even with Fatu in there, this is a great final 4. An A- final 4. Our winners. Now, I'm going to grade each winner separately. We have Lex Luger, who did not win the title at SummerSlam, who, was getting shoved down everybody's throats, and he had the bus. He had, that fucking Lex Express that fucking was going all over the place and touring everything, and, he was coined the next Hulk Hogan, and not a lot of people bought it. Not a lot of people digged Lex Luger. And he would go on to WrestleMania 10 and ultimately lose to Yokozuna at WrestleMania 10. And then he was thrown in with a random tag team when the British Bulldog finally came back. So he didn't really have a... He then was accused of selling out to the $1 Million Corporation and lost to fucking Tatanka at SummerSlam that year. So his year was ugly, to say the least. But just because it's Lex Luger, and he was a big star, I don't fucking care what anyone says. Lex Luger was a big star. The problem was he was just too WCW. I'm giving Lex Luger a C. A C. The other winner was Bret Hart. Now, Bret Hart's performance in here is great because, he had his leg kicked out his leg. So he, even though he was going to be in this Warrior Rumble match, he shows up in this Warrior Rumble match, and it's fucking surprising. He shows up, and he's kicking ass. And then both Lex Luger and Bret Hart at the same time go over. Bret Hart had one hell of a year. The best year in his career. He goes to feud with Owen Hart, have one hell of a match with Owen Hart at WrestleMania 10. He has a good match with Yokozuna, captures the belt, captures the World Wrestling Federation belt, becomes the face of the new generation, becomes the top guy, becomes the top superstar in the industry. And he goes on and has a remarkable, awesome title reign. And he would be the man of 1994. So, Bret Hart's year was amazing in comparison to Lex Luger. Bret Hart year is everything that Vince wanted for Lex Luger. But, who are the fans going to cheer for? Are the fans going to cheer for this, this guy you're shoving down our throats with, this Hulk Hogan 2.0, this WCW guy in Lex Luger that you're feed-braiding us, American hero? Or are they gonna cheer for the homegrown hero, the guy who actually cut his teeth in the business, who actually, who had to fight for everything he possibly had to be, because Bret Hart was a star that really nobody really wanted. He was the guy that really no one really thought could be anything. They're going to cheer for Bret Hart. They're going to cheer for Bret Hart because they could relate to him. So Bret Hart gets an A+ because of his performance and his great year. Well, Lex Luger got lucky enough to be a C. Overall grade gets a B. This is a solid Royal Rumble match. Highly recommended. You have Diesel's performance, Bret Hart's miraculous time. And it's a good Royal Rumble match altogether. And a good show overall. The tag team title match and the World Wrestling Federation title match, highly recommended. A B. Catch you next time for 1995. Oh boy.